Hey, it's Mike Phillips here at the American Muscle Car Museum with Ed Dedick, the operations manager. How you doing, Ed?
Mike, good to see you again.
And we have a really cool project that we've been working on since I got here this morning at 8 o'clock a.m.
Absolutely.
And this is a 1956 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser.
This is a 1956 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser concept car, which actually started in 1954, and how this was designed by Ford. And Ford sent the drawings and a 1/3 scale model over to Italy, to a town called Gianna, to build a car. They sent a 1954 250 truck chassis over there with the motor and tranny and says, here we go, build this scale car. So in a sense, this would tour the country, in a sense, to promote the new options that you could have on the car.
Yeah.
And it started touring in 1956, toured the country, and it first appeared at the Cleveland Auto Show.
Gotcha.
It made a lot of auto shows, and this had its actually, they called it an M truck, that would drive the car around and had a turntable in it, clear windows on the side to display the car and in a sense to show it off.
You know, back in the old days like that, it seems like things were so much cooler than they are nowadays. You know, building concept cars, debuting them, on a tour around America and sometimes the world.
Absolutely.
And this one here, this has all the space age, looking gadgets and features and chrome, things like that. It's very, for its time, it must have been blown people's minds.
Well, you think of the cartoons at the time, Buck Rogers, the Jetsons.
The Jetsons.
This car would fit right in with that.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and here again, this would be options that may not be on a production car, but you see what it could have.
Yeah.
I mean, they experimented with the glass T-tops. They experimented with the four, one seats in there. And you look at the dash, it had kind of a space age. And at the time, that's what they were shooting for.
Well, it's definitely one of the coolest cars I've ever worked on. So when I first got here, when this car originally arrived, it was in pretty rough shape, wasn't it?
It was in pretty rough shape. Ryan did a fantastic job. It had a lot of sanding scratches in it from the previous color sand. Got it all sanded out and polished at a pretty high level, but we wanted to have a protection to it. Plus the car is going to be displayed in the limited production class in Amelia Island coming up at the end of the month. So we wanted to make it look the best we can.
That's big time Amelia Island.
That is. To me, it's one of the world-class shows out there.
Yeah, so I hope it does really well. But let's go ahead and talk about what we did to the car to get it ready for Amelia Island. So when I got here, I remember this was out in the main display area where there's how many cars out there?
We have 447 currently, with about 400 in a large building and the rest of them in the shop currently.
So, man, I tell you, I think I've been through the tour 3 or 4 times in my life now, and it's nothing short of amazing. Every car guy needs to find a way to go through the American Muscle Car Museum. And this is a private collection, so you just can't show up and walk through, can you?
No, how he has it set up is to keep the interest high. And what I mean by that, it's open like say a football or a baseball stadium. If there's an event, you can look on the calendar, you can purchase a ticket. The outdoor car shows, are free to the public on the outside. The inside would be a fee to enter the main showroom, and that all that money goes to charity. But it's set up to, there's something about 100 days out of the year where there's something going on. The 4 main things that the museum does: we do fundraisings for the local county here in Brevard County. Second thing is we do auto events. What I mean by that, it could be an auto show or an autocross for a local Porsche Corvette club. Third thing would be educational, preserve, educate, and share with the younger generation.
And that's what we're in the shop for that right now. This beautiful big shop. If you could see it, it's amazing.
And then the 4th thing, we do thank you events. What I mean by that is police, fire, and our largest one for Veterans Day, we have a Veterans Day open house to thank them for the quality of life we have in America.
I appreciate that. I try to thank vets and anybody that serves the public and let them know we appreciate that. Well, when I first got here, the car had been removed from the display room over here to the technical room where we do all the work. And it actually looked pretty good. So I know that Ryan had already, since the car got here, he re-sanded it and re-polished it. And then he put like a synthetic paint sealant on it.
Yes, he did.
So what we did is we started out getting the car clean. And for that, we are using the prep wash. And a prep wash is basically just a waterless wash, but one of the cool things about prep wash is that it doesn't add anything. So it doesn't add any polymers, it doesn't add any carnauba, it doesn't add any ceramic. All it does is clean really well. And although the car looked clean, remember when we turned our towels over, all the dust we were pulling
Still
out?
see, I mean, that's something that even amazes me. The building we have, modern building, modern HVACs, and it's still, you get dust and dirt and everything like that. So, the cars are routinely wiped down and maintained.
Yeah. Well, so that's what we started out. First get it clean. Then we did the baggy test, and I'm happy to say that it passed the baggy test. So, and you would think a car would, in a clean environment like this, it would go ahead and pass the baggy test. So that was the first thing, was to get the car clean. And the reason why you want to do that is because you don't want to ever be bringing any kind of polisher, any kind of pad, any kind of product down on the paint. The next thing we did was we inspected it with a swirl finder light, and it looked pretty good, but you know what? It really needed a final polish because nothing looks as sharp and crisp as a freshly polished car. So I think what we did then is we did a little bit of testing. So we got the NSP 150, the 95, 45, and the Z1. And because we're going to put a dedicated ceramic coating on this, we went ahead and used the NSP 45. And this removed any shallow micro marring, and we used the foam pads. Now you used the Rupes Bigfoot 15 for most of your work?
For most of the work, we used the Nano, and then here again, like I learned from your classes, what did we do? We got the worst part or the hardest part out of the way first.
Yeah.
We tackled the plexiglass in it.
Yeah.
Tackled the back windows, tackled the inside windows, and tackled the T-tops, and then went to the interior and into the outside of the car.
Yeah, so I got things kind of reversed because my mind instantly goes to paint polishing. But like Ed said, I always like to tackle the things I like the least and get them out of the way. So this thing has plexiglass, what do you call these, gold wing T-tops?
We call them a gold wing T-top at the time. And you didn't really see many of these until later in the Corvettes.
Yeah.
And modern Teslas and stuff like that. But at the time, that was something that was out of this world.
And it was, as the video's showing, he got in there with the Rupes Nano, and we knocked out all the edges, and then we went with the bigger pads to knock out the big, easy to reach areas. And the thing about this, Ed, was when we got here, the plexiglass looks pretty good, but it did have a lot of swirls, just like car paint gets. And the NSP 95 using foam polishing pads removed about 95% of this. So the only thing that's remaining in these windows is every once in a while you see a deeper scratch. And for this type of stuff, because these aren't available anywhere, are they?
No, this is a truly one-of-one car, and a lot of the parts were custom-made or handmade at the time. And if something happens to them, we've got to make them.
Yeah, so you really don't want to make a mistake on any aspect of a car like this. So we used the NSP 45 to polish both sides of all the plexiglass. Then we use the Bead Hero to go ahead and seal the deal. And the Bead Hero gives the surface a very slippery, anti-static finish. It also clarifies that plastic too, so it's as clear as it could be. So that's the first thing we did. The next thing we did was the interior. Now for the interior, we used the Dr. Beasley's Fine Leather Cleaner. This is a spray-on product. You spray it on, agitate it with like a microfiber applicator pad, and then come back and wipe it dry with a clean microfiber towel. And then after that, you would apply the Dr. Beasley's Leather Cream, work it in. For that, we use foam applicator, and then wipe any excess off. And the thing I just wanted to kind of point out about that was that even though the interior looked clean, when we turned our applicator pads over, what did we see?
There's a little bit of dirt, a little darkness to them, but it really brightened the interior up. It's got a pop now.
Yeah, it really did add I like to use the word sanitary, surgical, or even crisp, a very crisp look with the bold, with the white, contrasting against, what do you call this color anyway, besides tangerine?
I'm not sure how you actually pronounce it. It's like a Parmesan pearl coat.
Parmesan.
And like I said, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but they were looking for something that was very unique, that would capture people's eyes. In a sense, when people go up and look at this car, you look at the outside, look at the inside, it's going to get their attention.
Oh, yeah.
And here again, when it gets their attention, hey, when does this car come out? When does the new Turnpike come out? Well, 1957. And at the time, this is when the interstate system was really taking off.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they didn't have speed limits. Just you could see the sign, drive at your own safety. So they were really trying to get people to go out, get acquainted with this car, and then since get to the dealership and buy one.
Yeah. Well, and then and this is the first time you'd ever used the Fine Leather Cleaner and the Leather Cream. What did you think of those two products?
I thought they were very simple to use. What I liked about the cleaner is it didn't have an overpowering smell to it right at all.
No.
And right off as we were using it, it worked very well. And same with the, the leather, in a sense, the protectant. It worked very well, and it brought a little bit of shine out, not a fake shine, but just a nice luster to it.
I would use the word sheen.
Sheen would be a good one.
Nice sheen.
Yes.
So then we did a waterless wash using prep wash to the paint body, all the trim, and also actually the plexiglass. Then we polished out the plexiglass, tackled the interior, and now it's time to actually start polishing the paint. And that's when we switched over to the NSP 45. This is a fine cut polish is what this is. And we machine polished everything just using foam polishing pads. And the product wipes off easy, and it left the paint absolutely glistening, and it prepped it for the next step, was installation of the MX ceramic coating system.
What I like about what you're showing me with the Dr. Beasley's product here, is you go right to the 45. And when you feel you're satisfied with it, in a sense, you go right through the coating. There's not a step in there.
Exactly.
That's
No
huge.
panel wipe. Yeah.
That's a huge time savings.
Not only is it a time saving, but one of the best benefits that I like about the no need for a panel wipe is the fact that if you're ever working on soft paint and you have to completely wipe down hours and hours of polishing, you risk marring the paint.
Makes sense.
Now, if it's a light color, you probably wouldn't notice it. But when it's a darker color, that marring is going to show up. Then what? Repolish the whole car. So
And then you feel like, in a sense, I'm fighting myself here. So in a sense, what am I doing? But like this here, we want the top-notch product. Yes, we want a good value on it, but this product works fantastic. And right now, you can look at it. The results speak for themselves. And then to be able to go from the 45 to the coating.
So one of the things I noticed is I used the Flex Super Beast,
Yes.
and you went immediately to the Rupes Millet.
It's just what I'm comfortable with. I like the whole system they have and the polishers they have and, the support they've given us.
Hey, Rupes is a top-notch brand out there, and their tools perform as advertised. But the thing that we both had in common is we were using gear-driven orbitals. And this car has a lot of curves, concave curves and convex curves. And for that reason, with the gear-driven orbital, there's no pad stalling out. So we were able to polish the whole car out fairly quickly.
Well, another thing I can add to this is here in a sense we have a 1956 with all the technicians in the shop, meaning Ryan and Dawson, are doing some of the polishing work. They've got a fully, stock cart with the Rupes polishers. And you're seeing some of the modern cars in here, some of the Ford GTs. When they build these cars, they actually polish them with Rupes polishers and Rupes products.
Yes.
So that's in a sense where we, got that. But, to come and see this, you've still got all the curves, you've still got it, it takes the time. You're not going to get away from putting the time and the effort into it.
No, it's when it comes to polishing the paint aspect, you really got to nail it in the polishing. The coating is going to add a lot of gloss and a candy look, but the swirls, scratches, all the stuff has to be taken out during the actual paint correction step. So then after we applied, actually we polished out the entire thing using the NSP 45 and then wiped it down. We went directly to the Dr. Beasley's Nanoresin MX ceramic system. Now this is a two-component system that starts with the paint coating builder. And what this does is it's going to create a foundation for the coating to actually bond to. But one of the things it also does is you're wiping it on is you can tactically feel that paint become very slippery and very glossy.
Yes.
It actually clarifies or adds clarity to the clear coat. And always think of the clear coat as a window to the base coat. So if the clear coat is totally clear, you see the full beauty of this beautiful, this is a metallic too, isn't it?
It is a very strong metallic.
Yeah, it's a metallic, so it's important. People talk about making the metallic pop. That's the word, pop. But to make it pop, it's less about the product as it is removing the defects and then adding something that actually brings up the gloss, which is a ceramic coating. So after we did the paint coating builder, then the next thing we did is we went ahead and applied the MX ceramic coating. And this is a product that you applied like traditional ceramic coatings. You use a crosshatch pattern, and the flash time is 30 seconds to 1 minute. And in this air-conditioned shop, we had no problem, going the full minute before we wiped off.
No, and when Ryan and Dawson were applying the product, it looked like, it worked very, very well. And tell us a little bit about the red and gray sponges, how you've changed the technology in them where it doesn't soak in.
Yeah, so we're using two little applicators, some applicator pads. They're from Auto Fiber. And what these have is they're microfiber on the outside, so they're soft to the paint. But on the inside layer of the microfiber that's wrapping around this foam sponge, there's actually a plastic membrane. So the coating won't continually sink into the foam block. Because you want the coating on the car, not inside a foam block that you're going to dispose of. And anyway, then we had your son and one of your technicians here that helped us out. They did a great job. I think it may have been their first or second or third time of using ceramic coating.
Ryan's done a lot of wraps, a lot of paint protection. He's got a lot of experience in the sense there. Dawson's just, in a sense, new to the field. He just graduated college in December, and he is, here. So, for him to be able to be around this and be exposed to, in a sense, the experience Ryan has, or the experience I have, or even learn from you, that's huge. The coating itself works fantastic, works very well. And granted, we are in a very nice, very, environment. You can't ask for a better one here.
No, it's
But
really
as far as the application, once you get the 45 and you get it pretty good, it looks fantastic. It goes on well, it wipes off well. The coating builder, You know, I have no complaints with that at all. And as far as some of the, I would call them, you know, paint in the tail ceramic coats that are a lot harder to get off, and this one works very well, and the shine is, it's right there.
Yeah, it has a very glassy look to it now. So then after we got done with the paint, one of the next things we wanted to do is we wanted to go ahead and polish up all the metal. So we cleaned it originally with the prep wash, then we came back and applied the metal coat, Dr. Beasley's metal coat. What this does is seal the surface, protect it from oxidation, any kind of attack, and really for the chrome, I mean, it's the word you use to describe chrome like this is brilliant or brilliance. So it's very, very, there's no scratches, it's very perfect. But so one of the things about that is you can't use anything abrasive. So the metal coat is non-abrasive. It's basically a coating for metal surfaces. And you apply it just like the wax, and then you don't even wait. You just come back, it bonds this, so you just come back and wipe off any excess.
No, I thought it worked very well.
Yeah, and I think you hit the hubcaps too, the big old beautiful wheel caps there. So then after that, we went ahead and tackled the tires. And this is a product that, you know, in my life, I've never really been a big fan of tire dressings. And what I really like about the tire conditioner is after you thoroughly clean the tire and apply this, it dries to the touch. So a lot of people complain about tire dressings that sling off onto body panels, sometimes stain the paint, or just how they're messy. So like if you were to bump into it with your pant leg or with a wash mitt, you know, you're gonna get this black gooey stuff off. But this stuff, after about 24 hours, it dries the touch, it leaves a dark satin sheen, and it's perfect for a car like this because you don't, you know, back then they really didn't have a high shine tire dressings. So you want something that gives it that dark sheen or that dark matte finish.
Well, along with that, obviously not a lot of the newer cars have a wide white wall or 2 or 3 inch white wall like this has. But it didn't discolor it, it didn't yellow it. It kept the white wall nice and bright, as you can see.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Easy on, easy off.
Yeah, and that just provides more contrast with the black portion, but the whole car just gives it that classic, elegant look.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this. We've got the car ceramic coated.
Yes.
Now, as far as maintaining it, what would we want to use at this point?
Well, what you do next is you'd use the Bead Hero product. I think we have it up here. Yeah, so the Bead Hero product right here. And this is a product, it's a spray-on ceramic coating. It provides protection up to a year.
Okay.
In a beautiful car museum like this, you probably got 10 years out of it. But one of the things that people really like about this is that we already have a slippery surface. It maintains that, but it does add a lot of slickness to it, a lot of clarity to it. And I always recommend using the 2-towel method. So take a folded microfiber towel and dampen it with the product. And then as you're wiping, after you wipe any body panel, come back with a secondary towel and just give it a wipe. And it's pretty much Bubba proof. You really can't make a mistake with it. But that's how I would take care of this car. And actually all the beautiful cars out there is the Bead Hero product. And you know, these cars aren't going to see washing. I'm not going to see the rain. But if they did, this makes water just want to escape the surface. So if you're watching this video and you're looking for a good spray on ceramic coating, the Dr. Beasley's Bead Hero is a top-notch product. And of course, it makes washing faster, drying faster. And it maintains whatever coating you have on the car.
Well, at the same time, you've taken cars to national car shows and concourse car shows. In a sense, by the time we get back, this car is going to need it's going to need a refresh in the bath and to go through it all before we bring it out to the museum. And some of the maintenance that we do out here, we're very proud that we keep all the cars in running and driving condition. So in a sense, they rotate in and out in a cycle where we do polish them and bring them back up to snuff, and sometimes we get a fresh car in that's come from another collection. But, it takes a lot of work to get it to our level that we would keep them at.
Yeah, no, I've seen your work. You guys do phenomenal work. All the cars out there look phenomenal. It's really amazing to walk through the American Muscle Car Museum and just look at the variety of cars and how many special interests, like all the Yanko models that you have out there.
And yeah, he's got an incredible collection. World class as far as the Ford GT, largest collection of Ford GTs in the world, and that's told to us by Ford Performance. We have a very, very large Shelby collection. We've got a Porsche tractor collection.
I've seen that, yeah.
And a large Porsche collection. Why do we have Porsches at the American Muscle Car Museum? He spent his senior year in high school as an exchange student in Germany. So the owner and founder of the American Muscle Car Museum, Mark Pylock, that's his wish to have them there. But you'll see a lot of cars in here. We've got a DeLorean with less than 200 original miles on it. That's something that's unique to it. Some of the Indy Pace cars from 1955 on up. You can walk around with a very, very large Viper collection. There's Vipers starting from the beginning of the Vipers, the 2017, and there's 16 of them. All but one of them has less than 100 original miles on it.
Wow.
So in a sense, even though you don't think the cars, get a lot of maintenance or a lot of that, they do the continuous maintenance on it. You know, and it's not just me and anything like that. It's the whole staff and the team behind. I mean, it's Ryan, it's Dawson working it, it's Andrew. You know, you go to the website, he keeps the website updated. There's photos of every car. There's 15 to 25 photos at the same time. Yeah, he's back there shaking his head saying no way, but he does a fantastic job with photos.
His photography work is top notch.
And you go in and you can go down to the website, go to the collection drop down tab, look at the car you want to. There's also going to be a short write-up of each car.
No, he does a phenomenal job. And going up to their website, you can see all the different makes and models, but nothing replaces being here in person and doing a walkthrough. You put this on your bucket list. If you're a car guy, you've got to get to the American Muscle Car Museum, take the tour, take pictures, ask questions, really enjoy it. Well, I think we covered everything we pretty much did. And Victor, is there any questions from the audience?
We've got, what is the name of that color? It says persimmon.
Persimmon, is that how you say that?
Persimmon.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out how to say it. It's not a common word, but it looks almost kind of like I'd use the word tangerine or peach.
Pearlescent.
Pearlescent peach, pearlescent tangerine, or a mix of the two fruits.
And a little bit of history of this car after it was used by, you know, Mercury, in a sense, the car company there. Got parked out back, fell into disarray, went through a couple of owners and was purchased by Tom Maruska out of Duluth, Minnesota in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
He did a restoration on this car from 2017 to 2022. Stated he had over 6,000 hours in doing this car. Now I could see it because some of this stuff is irreplaceable. You take the front bumper assembly, you take anything across there. I mean, it looks like a B-52 Stratofortress across the front. Look, they're going for. You know, some of that he'd have to hand make. You come in the back, and the T-tops and the windows there. You know, the car had to be, a lot of it had to be redone. I mean, he did a fantastic job on this car and brought back a piece of history, in a sense, as one and one for future generations to enjoy about this. And you may think, why in the world do you do this? This was a labor of love for him. You know, and since the car was purchased by the American Muscle Car Museum about the middle of last year is when we were able to take possession. Had to let the snow melt in Duluth before we could go up and get it. You know, and then we brought the car down here and, you know, it's been on display and it's on our center turntable in the main showroom. And we feel very honored to be taking this car and have it invited to the Amelia Concours show coming up.
Well, my fingers are crossed that it does really good. Of course, since he used all Dr. Beasley's products, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Let's see what it does.
There's a lot of competition at the Amelia Concours d'Elegance.
Well, and also I look at something like this, you know, the work we do here, this honors the people that have trained me or come before me. I mean, you take someone like, you know, Jerry that was here, you take people that have trained me, like my mentors, that keeps the passion going and keeps it moving on.
Okay, well, Victor, was there anything anybody else wanted to ask?
Yeah. You know, we've got some people checking in here. Got Optical Clarity Detailing. Hey, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Another A+ video. Got Humberto, as always, first from Puerto Rico. Hello, Yancey and Mike. Dave Myers here. Giddy up. All right. And then we got Juan Carlos. Greetings. All right. Got Port St. Lucie checking in. All right, and then I think we got a good question here. Mike, did you use a rotary at any point on this car?
Not any rotary at all, and thank God. It's a pretty large car, you know. It really does kind of go back to Ryan, who did the initial sanding and buffing on the car to really perfect the paint, because as I've been told, it came in here pretty rough. So that was good for us. So all we had to do is the light polishing. We could have probably knocked this out with cordless polish, like the new cordless Rupes or the cordless Flex, but we didn't have those tools here, so we both kind of gravitated to the tools we had. But the paint overall was in really good shape, and that's why we were able to use the NSP 45. So all we wanted to do is a fine polish. This removed anything that was on there, any spray detailers, whatever polymer sealant might have been on there before. It got us down to a fresh base of urethane paint. We polished it, we put the MX coating, and now we just got this incredibly glassy looking car here.
Awesome. Oh, Roger also wants to know where Yancey is. Why isn't he here?
Well, Yancey basically he does 3 weeks out of the month for us, and then 1 week I'm solo. So this week I'm solo, but luckily American Muscle Car Museum has their own Yancey, and his name is Andrew. So he's behind the computer, behind the camera, doing all that operations.
Yes, thank you for all the help, Andrew. All right. Let's see. First from Puerto Rico. What an awesome restoration. Oh, Rick Smith. So in total, how much coating did you guys end up using on the car?
I think we're probably down to 1/2 of a bottle. You know, the coating goes pretty far. We opened up a brand new kit to do this with, and if I look at the bottle through the side glass here, we got about 2/3 of a bottle left. So we use about 1/3 of a bottle to coat a car this size. And I actually remember getting down and getting all the lower panels. We polished every square inch of paint on here, so everything that got polished was coated.
And also, we'll come back tomorrow morning. We'll give this a second coat just for that extra, pop, if we will.
They're going to layer a second application on tomorrow. So Jim Lefebvre says 30 minutes is optimal, but you could go a day later. By the time we got this thing wiped off and finished the tires, we were about 10 minutes till 4. So it's pretty much go time. Change our shirts out of our work clothes and get ready to, go on camera.
The other thing about the 45, and, part of it is just getting a better at modern products. You can look at us. We're not filthy by any means.
No.
And
Yeah. I did change shirts.
But I mean, at the same time, it's a great product, and the modern stuff that's out there is just fantastic.
Yeah, the one thing that's Dr. Beasley's is, I brought this actually. This is our abrasive technology. This is our NSP 150. Could you zoom in on this? How about if I hold it like that? So this is the abrasive technology for our NSP 150. And if I take my finger and pull some out, it's really it's finer than powder sugar. And at this moment, this is our most aggressive product. So we got a couple other things in the works we've been playing with, but right now this is our NSP 150. This would be the powders in the chemistry world. They refer to these as powders or grains. So that's the powder that we use in our NSP 150. And our abrasive technology is unique to Dr. Beasley's. Nobody else has it. So everything in the NSP line is inorganic. So there's nothing there to interfere with the bonding of the ceramic coating. So that's why you can go right from using our products, wipe it off, and go right to the coating. No panel wipe needed.
Give me a little more background on Dr. Beasley's as far as where they're based out of, and how did they come up with the name Dr. Beasley?
Okay, so Dr. Beasley's it was started by a gentleman by the name of Jim Lefebvre, and Jim Lefebvre used to work in finance, in the finance industry, and as me, he probably had a great job doing all that stuff, but he wanted to work with his hands. He wanted to make things, wanted to create things, wanted to be able to have creativity, whatever the ideas he's thinking of, and have it show up as a product at some point. And so he started out, his first product was a car wash that wouldn't dry his employees' hands up. He also owned a Simon's detail shop, which had a indoor car wash. And I've been there, I've taught a couple classes there, and Jim has done a really good job of becoming very popular. The whole time I was there, there's nothing but a solid line of cars coming in to get their cars safely hand washed. So his first product was a car wash that his employees could use that wouldn't dry his skin out. And then from there, it just kind of like a snowball rolling downhill, it's more and more products. The name Beasley's come from one of his dogs that he used to own, and after it passed away, or before it passed away, when he's trying to come up with a name for his line, because he's always wearing a lab coat, and he's got a, what do you call the board you ride on?
A clipboard.
Well, you walk around with it. I can't think what it's called. But he's walking around taking inventory of the car, what it needs, and he looks like a doctor, so it just became Dr. Beasley's. And it is a unique name, so it kind of resonates and people remember it, but that's where the name came from.
And this is all made right here in America?
Everything is, and this is one of the things that I really like, is Dr. Beasley's is what they call vertically integrated manufacturing. So they start out with the raw materials and end up with the product that you can hold in your hand. So there's a lot of companies out there that have other companies, private, make their products and slap their label on it. But everything in the Dr. Beasley's line is unique to Dr. Beasley's. It's a small family-owned company, and it's all made in America.
Outstanding.
All right, we got a good question here from Harry's Power Wash Detailing. He's wondering, so if there's, dust accumulation on cars like these, how do you do a wipe down without, irritating the paint?
Do you guys do any California dusters, any blowing, or is it all wiping?
We don't do any California dusters. What we'll actually do is we'll have a waterless wash on a lot of them, and we'll do a 2-towel system where one we're actually spraying, a product on it to clean it off and a second one to dry it off. And at least once a year, the cars are brought up to the maintenance shop to give them a fully high detail. But for the most part, all the cars inside, I mean, we've got dual filtration on all the HVACs, and in a sense, it may be every 2 weeks, it may be every 2 months, depending on how the dust is and what kind of traffic we have through the museum. But again, the most part is we just have a two-towel system, and it can either be a waterless wash or a speed detailer or something like a Bead Hero.
Gotcha. Yeah, and as long as, one of the things I always find with people is keep your towels from getting contaminated. In fact, I brought 2 pair of tweezers with me.
You did.
So we can inspect our towels and pull anything out that we feel with our hands that may be sharp or pokey, or just not use the towel. But that's probably one of the most key things. Once you get a car like this, is always remember where swirls and scratches come from are the things that touch it. And that's a wash mitt, drying towel, wiping towel. So if you keep those things clean and uncontaminated, you've dramatically increased the chance that you will not damage the paint with swirls and scratches over time.
Okay, Barry DeHart says he just received NSP 45, 95, and 150. He's wondering how many drops do you want to apply to your pad when you're using any of those products?
So we recommend 3 to 4 pea-sized drops. So I've been telling everybody since I came to work for Dr. Beasley's, that's one of the hardest habits I had to change out of. A lot of the products I've used, I would always say put down nickel or quarter-sized drops. But with the Dr. Beasley's NSP primers, basically 3 to 4 drops on the face of your pad, and then work the product almost twice as long as you would a normal product. You always want to see a film down there. You don't want to go to a dry buff. But the products have a long working time, low dusting, easy wipe off.
Mike, we give it a little.
Sure, yeah. So
Visual aid.
So this is just a secondary bottle that we poured the 45 off into the 32-ounce pouch. And if you can zoom in on that, I will tilt it so you can see it. So that's where you'd start out. And you could probably buff out like a half of a trunk lid or half of a hood or something like that. And then, of course, add product as you need it. And the Dr. Beasley's products, they come in these pouches because we try to be an environmentally clean, environmentally green company. They take up less space in a landfill. And since it's public knowledge, the tubes are actually going away too, and they're going to be 8-ounce pouches, just like the 32-ounce refillable pouches. And at Dr. Beasley's, we actually do sell 14-ounce squeeze bottles to pour off into that have a place for your OSHA label and in any place you want to mark so you can identify what the product is.
Got a good question here from Rick Smith. Can that coating, I assume he's referring to the MX, be used on pieces under the hood? I'm curious about the heat tolerance. I mean, right off the bat, I can say that, MX has a great heat tolerance. You can put it on wheels, so it'll be able to, survive under that kind of conditions. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear from you, Mike.
Well, I've been putting on wheels myself. But the problem I have when I detail a customer car is the clutch of the car leaves, I never see it again. So, but here's the upside of that is I never get no phone calls with any problems. So obviously everything must be working just fine.
Okay, Roger, he's back again. He's saying you have to attend Mike's training. Definitely worth it. And you learn so much. And he's not lying when he says no seats.
Yeah. So Roger just attended our most recent 3-day class. It was just this last weekend. The class detailed 6 cars, including dry sanding by hand, dry sanding by machine, a 1941 Chevy street rod pickup. Then they buffed out a 1996 Corvette, a 1958 Impala that we actually did the Comet wash technique on. Then there was I got to remember what all these cars were. But 6 cars altogether. And then I brought in a 25-foot Sea Hunt center console that was heavily oxidized and had a ton of dock rash. That's where the boat bumps up against the dock while it's parked next to a dock, and it's all scratched up. And the boat is still in the shop. It's leaving tomorrow, and I will be taking a little walk-around video to match the before video that I took, and Victor will get that up for everybody to see. But Roger, as you found out, we advertise these as no chairs, no sitting, no PowerPoint. And I noticed, if you'll note, Roger, I started them with my watch every day on time, 7:30 a.m. Friday morning, 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I let you guys sleep in an extra hour on Sunday because I know you're tired. We started at 8:30 a.m. And usually every single day by about 9 o'clock, you had a tool in your hand working on something cool. And there were no chairs. I got pictures of people that are sitting along the side of the wall. They had to pull up a floor to sit down. And here's what I think. I think, I got people for a 2-day class, a 3-day class. If that's all I got them for, they can go sit all the rest of the time they want to. But in my class, I want to do a brain dump. I want to teach tools, topics, and techniques. And that's why the class rolled.
I could say this about your class. I started doing this back in 1979. I've seen the array of products, worked in shops, owned my own shops, and, fortunate enough and honored enough to work for American Muscle Car Museum. I attended your class in 2017 and still learned, still was brought more up to speed with new products. And even today, pick up new tips, new techniques, and it's constant evolving. It's never something you can get complacent on, and get stuck in a rut. You've got to have your eyes open to it and see what's out there.
I like to use the term perpetual student, always be learning. And the reason why is because there's always new technology being introduced, at breakneck speed. If you wall yourself off to new stuff, you're going to be missing out. But I am glad you brought that up. Ed is actually alumni of my big 3-day class. So that's where we first met with Simcoe to that class. And when you came to that class, you actually brought, I think it was a Dan Gurney car.
Brought a Dan Gurney car.
Indianapolis race car.
That was actually a car that we took to a Boca Raton Concours show the next day. And, detailed it at the class, took it to the car show, and it did very well. And that was quite an experience.
It was the first time I worked on a Dan Gurney car.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to you got to get the old guy, the experienced guy. We're going to bring the young guy in the shop right here now. They got to help out.
Austin, come on in. So, I have to stand next to us and then speak loud into the microphone there. So what did you think of the things we did today? We did some machine polishing. We applied the coating. You worked with the metal coat. What did you think of the things that you did today?
Well, I thought it was a really easy product to use, and the way that it actually works in the polish that goes into it's a very nice and slick coating. I think that the ceramic coating, the MX or is it MD? MX ceramic coating is actually very easy to use, apply, and wipe off. It's just a very good product to use. It's user friendly. It's just a really good product.
And the results more or less speak for themselves.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
So, and we appreciate having your help here. So, many hands make light work of any job. So, we had myself, we had Ryan, and we had Ed knocking this car out. And I'm glad to say it's done. So when this video is over, I can pack up, head home, because I got people that want to come pick up their cars and their boats in our operating room back in the Stewart.
Okay, Mateus says, greetings from Brazil. Dr. Beasley's is the NASA of polishing. I like that one. I have to write that down.
Oh, haven't heard that term yet. I like it.
Yeah, the NASA of polishing. I love it. Okay, Khalil wants to know, will the NSPs work with the microfiber pad, or do you only recommend them for foam?
No, you can use them with microfiber pad. You can use them with foam pads. You can use them with wool pads on a rotary. They're very, they're not pad dependent at all. You can use them any way you want to. I don't use a lot of microfiber pads myself, but that's because I know how to use a rotary with a wool pad. If I got to do some heavy cutting, I'd rather just rotary it and then come back and pull the holograms out. With microfiber pads, you don't really get holograms, but you can risk getting micro marring. But I use the wool pad on a rotary just for the speed factor, just to knock, a lot of the cars I work on in really bad shape, and I just want to spend all day on them. So I go to the fastest tool there is. So.
Awesome. Lee Campbell's got a pretty common question I think you should be able to answer, Mike. He's wondering, do you recommend cleaning your polishing pad between panels?
Oh, yeah. Clean your pad constantly. In my opinion, if you're using an orbital polisher with a foam pad, it's a good idea, at least for the initial step. Say you're going to use NSP 150 or somebody's compound for the initial step, or if you're just going to polish it, whatever that initial step is, you really want to use one pad per panel. Now, recently, I heard a couple of gurus, watched a video, a couple of gurus were talking about that's old technology, you don't need to do that. But the thing about it is with foam, okay, there's 3 of those pea-sized drops. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put this against the paint. And what happens at that moment is some of that product goes into the foam, okay? So then you buff out a section, then you put some more product on, and as you put that against the paint, foam absorbs, some of that goes into the pad. And pretty soon your pad can get fairly heavy with product, and it's not going to rotate very well if you're using a free spinning random orbital polisher. For example, a Porter cable. And if you were to get your pad sort of wet with product and you start to notice it's stalling more, and then you switch to a brand new dry pad, you'll notice rotation kicks back in again. So what's the difference? The difference is wet pads don't rotate as well as dry pads on free spinning random orbital polishers. The other thing is foam becomes wet with product, it becomes softer. So this is a polishing pad, and by the time I buff out a hood and maybe a fender with it, it's become a finishing pad. The pad is offering no more cut. So the way you could get more cut would be switching to a dry pad. So, you know, follow any guru you want to and take anybody's advice that works for you. But I'm telling you, after 40 years of detailing and been around since the foam pad, you know, become normal in the detailing world, that when you're using a free spinning random orbital polisher, that starting out each panel with the dry pad and great abrasive technology is more effective as far as removing defects and a better use of your time versus trying to clean up 1 or 2 pads and buff an entire car out with that. You know, so.
Another thing I'd like to add, Mike, is obviously, you know, we have pushing 500 cars here, and, you know, the constant detailing, the heat just kills these pads.
Yeah.
If you try to use the same pad through the whole car, and here again, you know, like you said, switching the panel, 2 panels tops, but just keep something nice, fresh. You're going to have the best ability to, you know, to make that surface the best it can possibly be.
Yeah, by switching pads often, your pads last longer overall. So most of these orbital tools, you get up like speed 4, 5, or 6 on them, that is a very violent action. It's rotating, it's oscillating. You have downward pressure, some level of downward pressure, and then time. Time is where the heat comes in. And so what that does is that causes the adhesive between the Velcro and the foam to break down, as well as the foam itself to break down. So by using more pads throughout the entire process of detailing the car, your pads will last longer over time. You'll be faster in what you're trying to do, remove defects, and the pad and the combination of abrasive technology will be more effective than a wet, soggy pad.
All right.
Hope that answered the question.
I think so. I think so. All right. Well, that appears to be all the questions I've got here. But, you know, Mike, I've got a question for you. Something I'm curious about. You know, when it comes to detailing, you know, a super, you know, kind of rare car like this, something that you're doing specifically for a high-end car show like a Concours event like this Amelia Island Concours, you know, how is your approach going to be different versus, you know, maybe a nicer customer car, you know, something that isn't necessarily going to a car show that just, you know, belongs to, you know, somebody's personal collection? How are you going to vary your approach, you know, knowing that your work is going to be judged by, you know, car show judges?
Well, at that point, at this stage of the game, you really, everything that you have, your tools, your pads, your products, your towels, need to be the best quality you can afford. I mean, you really need to have the best of class, whatever it is that you're going to use, whether it's a pad or a tool. There is still junky abrasive technology in the market. So that means there's still, you know, compounds, polishes, and AIOs that use inferior abrasive technology. And there's no way you're going to get these kind of results using something like that, because it's going to either swirl or micromar the paint. But, you know, it's just important to go into it the mindset of, you know, use good technique, good products, good pads, and then just follow the basic steps, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3. When we got done with the plexiglass and the interior, we started at the roof and worked our way down, just following good normal protocols. But you got to make sure everything that's going to touch this car, whether it's the interior, the plexiglass, which is very scratch sensitive, that everything you're using is completely clean and contaminant free. And then if nothing else, just follow the directions on the label. I mean, a lot of people, when they run into a problem with the product, maybe they're just not using it correctly. You know, so always go back to the directions if you're seeing a problem. And besides that, Victor, you got to do a little bit of this. Cross your fingers.
Very true. Very true. Okay, well, I think that's about it as far as questions. So, you know, we're at about 45 minutes now. Considering we didn't have an actual, you know, like lesson portion of this one, I think we'll probably be good to wrap up a little bit early. So if you want to provide any, you know, closing thoughts, Mike, this is your chance.
Well, everybody can stay tuned. When is the Amelia Island Concours event coming up?
Amelia Island Concours would be the last weekend of February.
Okay.
And that's coming up, obviously, at Amelia Island. That's something you can go Google that and find a lot of information out on that. That's something, and if you want to find out more events about the American Muscle Car Museum, Go to AmericanMuscleCarMuseum.com and look up the event tab, and you can see what we have coming up. Coming up March 9th on a Saturday, we have one of our very largest car shows we have here by the AACA, or the Antique Automobile Club of America. And that's something we've actually hired Dennis Gage to come to that show. And usually that show will end up between 375 and 450 cars outside, along with the cars we have inside. Food trucks, and that's just a nice feeling and affair, you know, family events, good show to have.
And support good charities.
Support good charities.
And for us, Victor, we have a class coming up in Escondido, California. That's Saturday, March 23rd, Sunday, March 24th. And basically, that's the first 2 days of the three-day class that I teach out here in Stewart. So the first day is all paint correction, rotary polishers, orbital polishers, ceramic coatings, work on multiple cars. The second day, we go over dry sanding by hand, dry sanding by machine, back to rotary polishers, orbital polishers, and ceramic coatings. And there's no chairs, there's no sitting, there's no PowerPoint. That class in Escondido is going to be 100% hands-on and 100% fun. Anyway, what I want to say is stay tuned, because, you know, hopefully this thing's going to be judged well, and we'll come back and do a follow-up video or do some pictures to show you how this car did at the Amelia Concours d'Elegance.
Absolutely.
And then I think in April, don't we have our 5-day detailing class coming up, and that's in Chicago, and that covers PPF installation, paint correction, the marketing and business side of running a detail business. So it's a lot more inclusive than our shorter 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day classes. And then again in May, I have a big 3-day class coming up here in sunny Stewart, Florida. And so lots to choose from, but you can always find out more information by going to drbeasleys.com. Across the top, you'll see a text link that says class. Click on it, and then you can find out the dates, the locations, the prices. And the other thing that we really include in our class descriptions is very detailed. It talks about everything you're going to get to do in that class, and you don't find that in the marketing for other classes. You see a brief bulleted list, and then you got to cross your fingers you actually work on a car, not a demo hood. But we try to show the cars you're going to train on, the boats you're going to train on before you even sign up for the class, because we're so confident that the class is going to be so good, and we want you to be able to trust us on that also.
Awesome. Well, I think with that, we can wrap up.
And then next week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is 1 p.m. Pacific time, me and Yancey will be back together in the operating room there in sunny Stewart, Florida.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what we're going to do.
Hey, thanks for inviting us. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. All right. Well, take care, everybody.